Welcome. You're listening to Leaders Lounge live and unmuted with Steve Hamilton. Today, so many leaders are feeling stuck, isolated, and uninspired. This podcast will help you master your framework, connect with the community of leaders, and reignite the devotion for what you do. Some of the brightest leaders of today will be joining the conversation, sharing the joys of leadership, their vision of the future, uncovering blind spots and pitfalls, as well as what they do to maintain their footing. If you're looking for candid conversation, this is the podcast for you. Help us by staying connected and subscribe to YouTube as well as SteveHamiltonMinistries.com. Now let's get started.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Leaders Lounge. Welcome to a special live edition of the Leaders Lounge podcast. My guest is David S. Smith. I don't know if I need to run down all the accolades, all his accomplishments, but I will say this: I've known him for almost 5 years now. We started a men's ministry self-care session in, I believe it was either probably November of 2020. So, right in the midst of all of it, we began our connection, and it has been a great blessing to Spirit and Life Ministries. And we are, and not only to the ministries, the brothers, but also to me personally. He's helped me a great deal, and I thought it would be appropriate and great to keep him up a little bit later than he's usually up, since he's in Atlanta. And but we wanted to make sure that we got him on in this mental health awareness month of May. And so what I want you to do before we jump into the conversation, please like this post and share it on all the platforms that you can share it on. Tell your friends we're going to talk about and help them with their mental health. Touch a leader, get a leader on here and tell them that they need to be tuned in. But we're going to make sure you all are liking this, sharing this, making sure that as many people as possible can be in on and listen to this conversation. David is a tremendously gifted life coach. What else did David do? He's a style coach. He's not. Oh Lord, I hope we didn't lose his mic. But anyway, he's all those things. But he's a great friend, and we are grateful to have him with us. David, are everything clicking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everything clicking. Yes, sir.
Good to have you with us. Thank you so much for jumping on with us for this discussion. And that's a warning to all of you that are normal Leaders Lounge TNT viewers. We're gonna go a little bit longer tonight, just so we can make sure we cover as much of this discussion as possible. We all know that mental health is a major issue, not only in the church and in businesses, but everywhere, all over the country and around the world. So, David, welcome. We're glad to have you. Any opening remarks? Anything you want to break dance? You want to, whatever you want.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, Spirit of Life. I did not know you've been in my life over 5 years now. I feel like I need rest, brother. Rest. But no, it is a blessing. Spirit of Life in your ministry, your vision for mental health has been driven. I mean, it's been part of your work. I know for 5 years you've been, you're really curating a ministry for mental health, for self-care, and you've been very intentional about it. And so it's been a blessing to be a part of the brothers and also the sisters when we can't get our logins together, the sisters jump in.
They come in on over there. They slide on in. Although now, since they go so early on a Saturday, if they can't get in, and there it's too bad because we sleep. But anyway, be texting me asking me, you're on your own now. But we certainly appreciate the work that you're doing, and as you mentioned, we did jump in the midst of the pandemic and all the
Yeah,
stuff
man.
going on,
Yes,
and
indeed.
there was such a great need, and we
Yeah.
were blessed to be able to connect. My cousin
Absolutely.
Nicole was able to connect Denise with some of the sisters from our church, and
Yeah.
and the story and it goes on from there. But it was a blessing.
Man.
And it was such a need, but it was such a need, and it's still a need. You know,
Yes, sir.
we're here 5 years later, and I don't know if it's even more of a need now, but because once we got out of the pandemic, it seemed like everybody just went wild, you know. So the term that you keep using now, I keep hearing all the time, is crashing out. So folks are crashing out all the time.
Yeah, crashing out. Yes, sir.
So I want to be able to help leaders, you know, to be able to not crash out and not burn out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our topic, which I thought was excellent, you know, and when you came up with it after you partied a little bit at the concert, you came up with a great topic for. See, I'm just telling all your business. But anyway,
Well, I told you. I mean, I sent the picture, so I can't.
Yeah. See, yeah. So, but we were, you know, when you said shepherds and self-care, and then nurturing, you know, mental health in ministry. I think it's just vital that we keep asking the question. I guess, you know, keep bringing up the subject, keep putting it out there to discuss, because typically in our circles and around the country, in most church circles, and definitely in the Black community, there's been such a stigma put on it, and so we don't talk about it enough. And so after the pandemic, we kind of pushed everything back, you know, under the rug, you know, hid it in the closet, kept it all in the back room. And I think that and then of course every week, and I mean every week, we are seeing something where folks in church, folks in business, folks in society, folks in everyday life are just crashing out. They are really tripping. And so I thought that it would be great to have you come on and just begin to kind of give our leaders some insight, and not only for the leaders themselves personally, but you know, I know we talk about self-care, but not only for leaders, but for the people connected to them. And then we leaders have to kind of foster an environment where we can talk about, deal with, and advocate for some better mental health care, and make sure that we're doing everything we can to help the people that are connected to us live better. So I have a few questions, but I wanted just to know if you had anything or anything. Well, let me ask this question. I thought about it.
You know, I want to throw in that I think I know we talked about shepherds and self-care and nurturing mental health in ministry. I was thinking about it earlier today on my walk. This is what, you know, I was thinking about. Here's the question, Bishop, and I want you to chime in as well. Here's the question I want to ask. Where is your leak?
Where is your leak? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a great question. We have to bring you back another. No, but I think that's a great question. Because
4 minutes. When we think about self-care, we often figure that if there's a leak in the building, right, and oftentimes we haven't identified where's the leak.
Right.
It could be emotional.
That's a great. Yeah.
It could be spiritual. Right. It could be mental.
I think it's a matter of understanding that. Well, let me put it this way: a lot of times we're not even aware there is a leak. You know what I'm saying? Until you just in natural situations with plumbing, you know, all of a sudden you come into. I know I've had this experience, a traumatic experience years ago.
Of course.
At home, you know, just a regular Sunday evening, and all of a sudden it's like, why is this water on the floor? You know, in the kitchen, go to the kitchen, and they're like, oh, there's water on the floor. And then you realize nothing is spilled, nothing has been, you know, and then you realize there's something underground and under the floor. And I think so often when it comes to self-care, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to anything in ministry, or even in a business, you're not sure something until there's a leak, until you see evidence that something is
Yes,
wrong.
sir.
Is wrong.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask you the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think, as you're just observing things, where do you think, where do you think our mental health is? And now, before you answer, I want to mess with this leak issue, because that's a powerful.
Because even though you saw there was water travels.
Right.
Right.
And the key
even
thing is
though there's a leak.
Where's the source?
Where's the source, right? And we try to follow the water, right? We try to find the source. And oftentimes it's not just the leak, but where has it gone? Right. And so when we think about water and how it travels from place to place, that's what happens when we don't identify the leak. It spills over.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't want to do the hard work of tracing that, tracking that. We're not going to, there are leaks in ministry all the time. Sometimes we ignore it. We're gonna put a towel down. We'll try to, we'll try to deal with it another time. If it's in the roof, we're gonna try to patch that and try to, and pray. We try to do what we can to manage it, and Lord knows, pastoring, we've done all that. We're dealing with an older building. There's a lot of that, we're just gonna fix it, doing stuff. My dad, God rest his soul, was one of those that was we go, fancied himself a bit of a handyman, but low key was just like, we're gonna put some duct tape on this, we're gonna wrap it up, we're gonna make sure, and we're gonna keep going. And so often what we're doing is that we've seen folks patch up a lot of stuff. We patch up a lot, we cover a lot, we camouflage a lot, and we never get to the source, because the source takes the hard work. And unfortunately, we're seeing people in church. Let me back up. COVID, I think, the shutdown exposed a lot of leaks.
Yes, sir.
It exposed where we were. And then
everything bottled.
So, if this was a weak area, this was, and then it was like, once we were able to come back, well, let's come back, and then we're gonna try to make it like it was. We're gonna try to make everything, and we're ignoring the fact that we didn't fix stuff while it was, we never addressed the mental health issue. We never addressed why pastors are burning out. It was interesting last week when we had the men's meeting, and you were asking all of us to kind of check in, and you asked me, how are you doing, and how are you in terms of where you started at the beginning of the year, what you had planned on in the beginning of the year, and I was telling you, I said, well, I'm tired, and you quickly jumped in and said, are you not? But are you burnt out? You were like, okay, look, because it's one thing to be physically tired, and kind of emotionally drained because you've just been pushing. But then there's another thing where rest or time off is not going to fix it. And that's when you're bordering on burning out. And so there are so many leaders that burn out. There are so many people that died by suicide, and all kind of things that have been happening. And I think that we need to really kind of wrap our arms around where the leak is coming from, and so we got to figure out where are we. That's a great question. Now I think we need, like I said, I do a whole section on that. But see, that's why. David think he's slick. He does that all the time with me. He'll start off with a question and then throw me into a whole other thing, and then I'm trying to.
Bishop, you had an impact on me. You told me to go deep, so we go deep. Go deep, right?
All right. Make sure you are liking and sharing this, and making sure that as many people as possible can get this discussion. But what do you see though, as a coach, as a thought leader, who deals with mental health, and you deal with all kinds of people in different walks of life, and leaders and all kinds
Yes,
field.
sir. I see that we are when we think about us in the geopolitical world that we operate in now, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is situated in this moment we find ourselves in.
Right.
And then looking at where the faith community is, right? Where it's not just now. It used to be, oh, we got 3 services. Everybody was pushing for numbers and expansion and growth, and COVID changed all of it, right? So now we worship differently, we gather differently. We're looking at, well, what does it look like now, right? Now we're 5 years in. Who are we as a faith community?
Yeah.
Right? Who am I as a minister? Who am I as a leader now? Right? Mm-hmm. I'm not the same minister. I can't minister the same as I did 5 years ago.
Can't do it. Yeah.
The people have changed, right? So we got a geopolitical piece, we got a faith community piece that's shifting, and then we also have our family dynamics, right? We got to bring all that piece in. We got health. So a lot of things are merging, right? A lot of change, a lot of uncertainty, and people are crashing out. They are trying to find ways in which they can ground themselves and get themselves in a place of certainty. But I don't think this is the time to latch on to certainty.
Right.
I think when we think about where we are now, what I see, if I had to put on the scale, 1 being pretty good, not so good, 10 being great, I think we probably 5, 6, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
We're right there in the middle. Because we vacillate between I want to go, I know, I call it the level 5 mafia. That's what I call it. You can get to the 10, but we can hold strong in that 5, right?
We lay right in that 5, and and we do what we can. I keep thinking the song by Solange. I always got to come back with a song, but the song by Solange is "Praise the Sky."
Yes,
and
yes, sir.
I tried to shop it away. I tried to sex it away. I tried to, all these things. And I see us every week. I mean, one thing Black folks gonna do is learn a line dance.
We got
to a terrible song. They're gonna learn a line dance. They gonna have fans and cowboy boots. I'm sick of. I don't know. But again, but you see that we latch on to things like you were saying to try to cope, and the church does it. We're gonna have this conference. We're gonna do, and we stopped pivoting and started mimicking again. We started copying. We're comparing and copying, and so we find a lot of the same stuff, going on in all these churches. Some better than others, more successfully than others.
Yes, sir.
But we now have gotten to the point where we're not really addressing underlying issues or underlying leaks or things that are going on.
If you have people sitting in your pews, you have people dealing with leaks. Period.
Yeah.
Just be aware that if you're ministering and you're shepherding, whether you're in a building, you're on a street corner, or you are doing prison ministry, or you're doing ministry in the shelter, or you're working with young people in schools, or you're working with elder in homes, wherever you're ministering, there are always in people's lives there are leaks.
Yeah.
Our job is to help them identify those leaks. But we have to, first of all, acknowledge that if we don't get them to identify the leaks, then in the words of Carolyn Mice, liars don't heal.
Liars don't heal. Yeah. That's the, and now my question to that would be, do we need, as leaders, we got to be healed ourselves?
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And I love what you're saying about identifying the leaks and helping people to heal. But the problem a lot of times is the leaders aren't whole. The leaders are, we playing it off. We struggling and we playing it off. And so then when it comes time to actually help them, that's why I like what you said, shepherds self-care. In other words, we got to get ourselves together. Like the thing they say on the plane, secure your mask before you try to secure somebody else. You over here, you barely breathe. You try to help everybody. You about to pass.
You ain't breathing. Right, right. And you try to help everybody else on your road. For those of us who were in coach, there's more than one on the road, right?
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
So, Bishop, here's what I want to do.
Okay.
We think self-care is massages, haircuts, manicures, pedicures, facials. We consider that like self-care.
Right.
But that's actually maintenance.
Wow.
That's not self-care.
You see, that's not self-care, that's maintenance.
That's maintenance.
There's a difference between self-care and maintenance.
Yes, sir. When we think about self-care, it is an intentional work around our emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Because we have been conditioned to think that we can put a beauty thing around it. We can do when I go, for women, this is not knocking women, but oftentimes it is the massage, the facial, it's the I went and got my lashes done, that's maintenance. Now you may have some moments where you feel like someone's taking care of you, right? They're giving you a massage, they're fixing your hands up, whatever it may be. And you walk out of it and you feel good because you've been pampered for 90 minutes.
Right.
But that's maintenance.
Wow. Yeah.
And we as men do it as well, right?
Yeah.
It could look like gaming for us. It could look like going out for a round of golf for us. Right. It could look like our favorite sports bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things we do to kind of it's coping, it's maintenance, it's getting us through the next day.
Yeah. And I think that we have to, just park there for a second because I think we've misidentified what self-care is. And maintenance. We haven't really defined those things. And I think that so often, we think, okay, I heard Carey Newhoff, a great thought leader. He's always says, your time away will not help you if you don't know how to manage your time on. In other words, if you don't know how to manage how you work and how you operate, if you don't know how to manage, no amount of time off is going to help that. No amount of time off, and especially most of the time we don't really take sabbaticals or take trips or take stuff until a leak, until the leak becomes public.
And then the board says we got to sit you down.
And the board says we're gonna have to have you. Listen, sir. Listen, ma'am. We're gonna have to have you. They pull your coat a little bit, and so
they call that a soft sabbatical. He's gonna go and he's gonna go rest a while.
Right? Yeah. You need to get some. Really, in the old school was get somewhere and sit down. But again, but I think that we have to, one of the things we don't do is learn how to manage how leaders spend their time, how shepherds spend their time while they're working. And instead of building in maintenance, build in self-care.
And that's balance.
Yeah.
Right? Boundaries. That's learning how to decompress.
Yeah.
Right. Where do you put that? That's overall, that's compassion for yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. We're so hard on ourselves, right? It's our self-talk. What you call yourself when nobody's around?
Right.
In your head. When you make a mistake or
you
can't figure it out, or you got to do it yourself project and then gets working out and you spiral out. Right. All of that stuff comes out of, if you don't have balance, you're not grounded, you don't know how to decompress, really tend to stress management, which is huge in ministry, huge, right? So I hear that all the time. It's like, yeah, but you're talking about maintenance. I'm talking about real work.
And I thought about a few colleagues of mine that, and sometimes coming up in the church and seeing these, these pillars, these heroes, these, ones that have gone before us. we look at them like never never understanding that they needed hobbies, they needed balance, they needed something that wasn't just about ministry all the time. I saw an interview with Trevor Noah just earlier today, and I forgot the guy he's talking about. It was great, Diary of a CEO is what.
The guys out of the UK, I think.
Yeah. And so he was talking about how he was talking about like being famous and success. I mean, he said he doesn't want to sound like somebody that's want to, oh, poor me, I'm so popular, blah blah blah. But he was talking about how he when you introduce yourself to somebody, especially somebody new that doesn't know. You see, when people don't know you, when you're unknown, you can introduce yourself to somebody, and they're getting a whole chapter. You're getting a whole, you're getting a chance to share your story. Yep. But when you're famous, they already know they got their own preconceived idea about who you are.
Narrative. Yes.
Exactly. So the thing that we have to understand is because of your position, that's not who you are. As a pastor, as a leader, that's not your identity. That's not who you are. Yeah. There's somebody in there that's really you, away from everybody else. And I think that we don't understand as leaders how to understand. This is what I do, but that's not who I am.
Yeah, because
of course it's a divine calling, but
there's an identity with the vocation, right? And we gotta tell people, separate yourself from your career. Like you got a whole. When I started my work journey, my first job was with Dairy Queen.
Okay.
16 years old, in the mall, a couple of nights a week. It wasn't much, right? But it was a lot for me with my little $70 check, right? Right? $79.
Not like my McDonald's experience, but continue, yes.
$4 an hour, right? So they had me staple the receipt on the bag. And that bothered me because I couldn't understand, why I got to do all that? So I get into my granddad picked me up one day from the mall. My granddad, who I talk about, they picked me up from the mall to bring me home. And I got in the truck, and he said, "How's your night?" After I gave him his chocolate malt that he got for free.
Don't get in that truck without that malt.
Without that malt. And I talked about that bag and that receipt on the bag all the way home. Right? Couldn't understand. And my grandfather just let me talk, right? As most men would do. And he said, "You finished?" Yeah. Right? He says, "You work over there, but your life is over here."
There it is.
Like, they want you to stay. He said, if they're not asking you to do anything that's against your morals and ethics, staple the receipt of the bag.
And leave that there.
Right? So that blew my mind at 16, right? So I stopped complaining. I'm like, "Oh, you want me to staple? We'll staple." So, Bishop, that identity, right? Trevor Noah talked about that thing that comes along with celebrity, that he didn't sign up for celebrity. He just doing his work. When we think about self-care, I talked about balance and grounding oneself, how to deal with your stress, a sense of well-being, right? So we think about the physical piece. So that's 4 elements: with the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual.
Yes.
That's not getting your nails done.
Right.
That ain't going to the barbershop. You know what I'm saying? That ain't walking on the BMW parking lot for another bill.
Right.
So we think about, let's start with the physical first. Sleep. We talk about that a lot, right? Get on a regimen, 7 to 9 hours a night. That's physical, right? Nutrition, exercise. We just talking about just the physical thing. Right? Self-care, right? Rest. Those areas, that's your physical piece. Those things are non-negotiable. So when we have self-care, these things become non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
So when I get through eating in the evenings, like I did tonight, I go for my walk. That's non-negotiable. It's raining here in Atlanta. I walk with that umbrella. That's non-negotiable. That's part of what I do to help me decompress. Right. And that helps that roast to move. My God. And so,
Lord knows you need that roast to move now.
I need that roast to move, Jesus. I do. And here's the emotional piece. So we got the physical, we got rest, right? All those things I just mentioned. Now here's the emotional piece. Journal.
Right.
It could be just keeping great notes in the evenings. I call it a brain dump. Just get it out. Just get out of your head, right?
Yeah.
Setting boundaries is emotional self-care. Let your no be no, your yes be yes.
Right. And no without an explanation.
It's a complete sentence. Is that what we've been told? Correct?
Yes.
Self-compassion, we talked about that being a practice, right? That we need to be a little bit more gentle to ourselves. Right?
What does that look like? Self-compassion. You mentioned it kind of twice. Just kind of mess with that a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
When we talk about self-compassion, we have such high standards of ourselves. So we are critical if we are not progressing along. We're critical if we make mistakes, or we're critical of ourselves when things don't turn out the way, right? Some of us spiral down. That spiraling could be so self-compassion could be when we make a mistake, but we're not a mistake.
Right.
We made one, right? Self-compassion is that we don't call our name stupid. We don't call ourselves stupid in our head.
Right.
That was dumb. Or how could I have made that? That's the self-talk. That's self-compassion. That we don't speak those things internally for ourselves. We have an internal dialogue with ourselves many times that's not healthy.
Yeah. Wow.
It's not
unhealthy internal dialogue.
It happens all the time. You'll be surprised what people say to themselves. About themselves. You make a wrong turn, you get off the wrong exit on the 405.
Lord knows, yes.
My God from Zion, right? And
I was never going to get to the lunch we had. I was really you're going to keep driving.
Just forget it.
Going home.
And then we go into the spiral. Self-compassion would say, okay, when I get there, I get there. Right? I missed the exit. When I get there, I get there. People still gonna wait on me. I'm good. Self-compassion, practicing self-compassion is being kind to yourself in those difficult times.
Good.
Right.
And do you think it's also? I think. Well, we can go to the next ones, but
okay. Now, so that also can look like the also we think about the emotion self-care. That is also men's ministry. That's women's ministry. That's group counseling. That's therapy, right? Getting to that's part of seeking support, whatever the support can be, right? So we got them. So emotional care is journaling. We got support, right? We got self-talk, self-compassion, and we also got practicing boundaries. Say no when necessary to protect your energy. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got the emotional. We got the physical. Now here's the mental piece.
Okay.
Now, we practice prayer meditation. Right? That's how we can. That's self-care.
Yeah.
Right? Here's another thing. We learn something new.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever that is. Right? It could be language. It could be a new game. It could be whatever, right?
I saw a quote from Miles Davis. He was talking about how he's happiest when he's learning something. He was like, well, and as much as he is shared and had, and the genius that he had, he said, but he would get excited when he was learning something new. And that made him happy. That's what got him going.
That's right. So learning, that's books. Maybe taking a new course. Could be a hobby.
Yeah.
Right. Learning something new is part of our mental health because it allows us, again, we're talking about self-care now. Right. Okay. Here's the other thing. We can limit our stress. Right. So that means we're going to reduce some negative things we normally would hang into. That could be doom scrolling on your phone.
Right.
It could be checking the news every hour and hour.
Right.
That could be a toxic family thread that you want.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Some of us on threads we shouldn't be on.
As Bishop, the late Bishop Robert Douglas used to say when he was preaching, he'd say, "Now stir that up." Stir that. He said, stir that up. But sometimes Bishop said, stir that up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, but because sometimes we have these toxic threads, as you said.
We do.
These
toxic people.
Yeah, and there are people that are just toxic, and they're not trying to change, and you can't change them. And so what you do is you eliminate yourself from that.
That's right. So we gotta, if we can eliminate our stressors, that's self-care.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So, for instance, I used to check the news sources every day, right? So now I just check it 1 hour on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because don't too much change in a week.
No, it doesn't.
So yeah. I don't need to be cognitive.
I got to the place where I stopped, all the network, all that stuff. And then even what I'm looking on social media, and I can't. I'm not going. I'm not going to click on everything. I don't care. Yeah, I have to keep my mind. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Keep your mind. So we talked about that's mental self-care. Let's look at the social self-care, because we also need people. So we got to connect with our loved ones, right? Friends, family, maybe your sorority, your fraternity, your lodge, right? Social connections also help us with our self-care. Being with other communities, right?
Yeah.
Group of interest. There's a big running club now. The whole running club thing is big now, and people got bowling leagues, and people go roller skating. Find your people.
Yeah.
And that is part of your self-care as well. That's the social piece.
Yeah.
Right? Bishop, we're too isolated as spiritual leaders.
Wow.
We're too isolated. Or we just hang around other pastors.
Right. And all you do is
walking war stories.
Bishop Noel Jones, my friend, used to, you go see him. Me and friends of ours will go see him at the church, after he didn't preach and stuff. Man, I don't want to sit around talking about church all day. It just came from church, And I love it, because it was like, ain't nobody gonna sit around and just keep talking. And I've known leaders that had trouble, and they told me, they like, I don't even know how to go on vacation.
Yeah,
you got a Bible on vacation because you're doing, you're trying to figure out the next Bible stuff.
Right. You're supposed to be on the Amalfi Coast. Relax.
Right. Yeah, you sitting up in the, but part of that's because of the culture that we grew up in and came up in, that you thought that the pastor had to be locked in, on the word all the time. And I mean, I'm a Bible preacher, but I'm like, look now.
But you can catch me at the Maid's concert on Saturday night. I'll be there.
Right. But I'm not going to sit there and be just, locked in and speaking the King James Version while you on vacation.
You better say that, bitch.
Thus saith the Lord. What? You don't even know how to have a conversation.
Right. Anyway. I equated to that when I used to work in corporate America, like I don't want to go to happy hour.
Right.
I'm done. I
don't want to deal with you people.
I have fulfilled my contract. It ends at 5 p.m. I'm good, right? Or 4:30, right? So we talk. That's the social piece, right? Yeah. And also a key thing is to unplug.
Yeah.
That's the social piece, right? Take breaks from social media. Limit that as much as possible.
Like they say, go out and touch some grass. And go out and
yes, thank you. Go out and touch some grass.
Get some sunlight, get some air.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Because if you're doom scrolling, right? If we just going through and we just scrolling, because that means that we're idle, right? And that thing is stimulating us.
Yeah.
Right. And we're always on, because that thing keeps us on, right?
Yeah.
Just to go up. It also allows us not to get focused on the things when we need to be focused.
Yeah.
Right. So that's our prayer meditation.
That's
when we need to read, right? But we so plugged in, the social media is taking our ability to stay focused.
Yeah, I think you are hitting it you're hitting the nail right on the head, because I think that some of us get so caught up in the latest trend, the latest social media trend. And like I said, I don't know where all y'all go to learn these dances, but I mean,
when you get ready to go on vacation, your wife's gonna have that fan.
It's gonna be a problem. We gonna have some problems.
Come on, boots on the ground. Come on, boots.
I don't want to see a cowboy boot. I don't want to see a fan or a hat.
Yes, sir. So we gotta have social. we gotta have social self-care. Here's the spiritual self-care. That's our prayer. We talked about the prayer meditation, right? I don't think we spend enough time in nature.
Wow. Yeah.
I think we need to
spend enough time in nature.
That's a hike. That's by the ocean. That's at a local park. You don't have to be anything big. Just you find yourself in nature and sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
Right out there. Take your time.
And even if you're just watching, sometimes just watching people, but just be out there in nature. And that was one of the things. And what's interesting is a lot of what you are saying were things that I remember sharing with leaders during the pandemic.
Oh man, great.
They're telling us, they had these list of things, 10 things to do to try to help us cope with being stuck inside. And all the things, going out, touch nature, get out and basically just stop scrolling, stop tuning into everything, feeding your mind, all this stuff. And I think that, those are some of the things that are keeping us as leaders from being able to be a blessing to the people that are following.
That's right.
I can't really help the sheep until I'm, balanced.
If my cup is empty, Doc, what do I have to give you?
You can't pour from an empty cup.
And if your cup has been leaking, you ain't got nothing there, right?
Yeah.
Right? And we have lied to ourselves to think we got more than enough in there. We don't. We actually right on. We passed these.
Listen, we've been pouring drops out and the thing that's interesting is you can get by.
Yeah. But,
been doing this so long.
Yeah.
We know how to make it.
Jesus' disciples said, Master Teacher, why couldn't we heal them? He said, well, look here now, some things come by faith.
This guy, you haven't done the things that are required.
They're required of you. So if Jesus took time to go up to the mountain.
Yeah. He had to get away from folks. He got away from people.
And even Paul recognized his weaknesses. We got models that show us how to do this thing, right? We're not even honest about our can't help us.
That's right.
You know, these pastors love them a scratch off.
That's a scratch off ministry. All right, that's what we say. Got a scratch off demon. Because everything.
Like Gene Patterson said, if you got a habit, what he said, Bishop Gene Patterson used to say, if you can have it, God can handle it, something like that.
That's right.
He's so right.
That's
so we think about it, Pastor. We have models. We have Jesus saying, "Well, I'm going to go away. I'm going to go away." Prayer, separate myself. Right. It was a spiritual hike.
Yeah.
Right? I'm hanging out for a while. Right. And I'm gonna leave my people down here and let you all kind of do what you need to do because do your thing. And then they couldn't heal the person. He said, look, man, how much I can't even go up.
I can't even go away for a few minutes. And here y'all got chaos down here.
Right.
But again, and it's interesting that you're touching on, the things that because I think that what's hindering us, maybe I was going to ask, what do you think it is that's hindering leaders or from addressing their personal stuff, but also from, helping the people they lead? Why is it so hard? Maybe that's my question. To really wrap our arms around the mental health issue, and especially in the Black church.
Yeah.
I
think part of it is
in the church in general.
Right. You said something that's a great question. Bishop, part of why we struggle so hard is because we don't really know what we need.
We don't know what we need.
We really don't know what we need. We have been nurtured and also socialized and spiritualized in churches that this is all you need.
Oh, come on.
Right here.
Please say that.
Right? This is all you need, right? And those are about 4 or 5 things. It ain't much, right? But we're fully human and fully divine at the same time. And then we have been so socialized and conditioned that these are all the 5 things that I need, that I got to suppress these other things. Because
if I keep still feeling that something's wrong with me.
Something's wrong with me. And also, I can't bring it to God. I can't bring it to the church, right? So where does it go? What do I do with all this? So the reason we struggle with it, because we have not found the balance between our divine and our human nature.
And I think we haven't created an environment.
There you go.
Where, as leaders, where people can be vulnerable, can be, my honest. Honest. There it is. My wife said something interesting. She was talking about in the old church. So Scarlett said when folks got up, they, and got in the prayer line, came down to the altar. You didn't want to. You had to put on the performance.
Yeah, man.
Because you don't want to look like you didn't figure it out in that few minutes that you were down there. In other words, I got to play it off.
Right.
What we've been doing is playing it off. We've been front. Because everybody is struggling.
Yes, sir. Can I say, Bishop? We don't have a name for it. We don't even know what to call it.
Yeah.
Right. My grandmother took a nerve pill. What you call it?
That's a nerve pill. That's right.
Right. Right. She called it a nerve pill. Right. But what was that thing?
Yeah.
That she went to her doctor. They said, "I think you need this thing." Was that anxiety?
And see, what we call it anti-anxiety. Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. You don't need nothing.
Right.
But the Holy Ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the truth. I think we need both.
We need the Holy Ghost and the nerve pill.
And we need that nerve pill. Right. So you ask, and then also we have to structure the church, our environment in the church. You talked about that. I grew up in a traditional Baptist church. There was no the pastor was the pastor and the counselor, and it wasn't much there, right? Then we moved to another church. They had a counseling center. It was integrated. Right? It was integrated in the church, and the counselors were social workers and master PhDs, but people went for mental health, for support. Right? So our church needs to be more integrated when it comes to this thing. But I want to go back to something. We don't do a good job of naming it.
Yeah.
Everything is not demonic.
Amen, sir. Everything.
Something is not demonic. Because you don't understand it. It can't be a demon just because you don't understand it.
Right.
But maybe the thing is, maybe we got to feel, let's figure this out together.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where it is.
But let's work through it. Let's walk through this.
And I may not be the best resource for you, but we're going to find some resources. You see? Right? So that means we got to let go of this Superman cape. When if we're honest, we're more Clark Kent than we are Superman.
Right. And we have to be able to, and I agree. I did a study with Azusa Pacific University about mental health in the clergy years ago. Really right before the pandemic. And we published a study and all that stuff.
Beautiful.
But the thing that was awesome about it was it helped me when the pandemic came along, to not think, okay, I have all the answers. So then when Sister Barbara talked about what Denise had shared with the women on my cousin's birthday that summer, I was like, oh, and the Lord was like, that's what you need to do.
Yes, sir.
In the church.
Yeah,
that's why you need to help. And so, but I was, because I had been a part of that study, I was more open to, okay, I'm not going, and I'm not the one qualified to lead it. Let's bring somebody in that really knows what they're doing, and I can benefit from it too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're in this together. So, and as you know, with the brothers, we're in there. Ain't nobody. I ain't trying to fight nobody. I'm in here.
And you don't have to work so hard because you got other people helping you do it. So you can focus in on the things that you do well, whatever that may be. Right? If you got a building project going on, you got to raise millions and millions of dollars. Of course you want to nurture your people, but you got people that can help nurture your people.
Yeah.
Why you go out and raise money? Because you gotta do this thing, right? And so let's go back for a second. If you don't, part of why it's not, we have such a hard time with it because we have not given people permission to be a human being.
Yeah.
And to be a human being is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. If you are pastoring a predominantly African American community, you're going to have to look at all of the social ills that they bring into the church.
Right.
And many times that has a mental impact on our people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Depression, anxiety, right? Drugs, violence, domestic violence, right? Addictions, right? Scratch offs, whatever, right? Whatever maybe. But if your congregation is half women, half men, women have certain things they bring in sociologically to the church that we as men, as pastors and ministers, can't take that stuff because we ain't a woman. We don't know what but we don't know what it means.
Be so stuck on ourselves that we think we know everything. We don't know everything. We don't know how to address it, and it's okay to not know. You got to be able to say, "I don't know." But that's one of the things they taught me when I was going to Bible college was,
yes, sir.
Dean Jackson said, you don't have to know everything.
Yeah. And
she told us, but she said, what you need to do is be able to say, I can go. I'm gonna find out though. I can go find it.
You didn't know how to hunt.
Yeah. You don't need to be walking around knowing every single thing about every topic. But I know how to I can get some help. I can get somebody in there that does.
If you're church and you are centered in a community, there are community resources that the church should automatically know what's about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of the church can be building a resource center.
Yes.
Right. Or just resource period.
Right.
On the website. Right. That could be a resource area just on the tab.
Yeah. Mental, emotional health for abuse.
Boom.
All
right.
kind of,
And I come from Spirit Life Ministry, and Bishop Hamilton sent me. Oh yeah, we know Bishop, and absolutely, we're gonna put you on the sliding scale fee.
Yeah.
I don't have the $10. We'll take $10. Come on here, right? So part of that is integrating it, putting the shame off of it, taking off your Superman cape because most of us don't wear it anyway, right?
Right.
Understanding that just because we don't know what it is, it's not a demon.
Right.
Just because we don't know what it is does not make it demonic. I have to repeat that to people who may be listening to this broadcast.
Right, you're absolutely
right. And then lastly, you said something else. You said, and I don't know everything, but you can be a resource to people, right? And that gives you permission to do all the other things that are in charge of, right?
Yeah.
And so part of practicing self-care is hitting all those areas I just mentioned to you, right? And self-care is not being selfish. Self-care is I'm gonna take this thing, it got water in it. And every morning, every evening, I'm gonna fill this water up. I'm gonna fill it up with my physical practice. I'm gonna fill it up with my emotional practice. I'm gonna fill it up with my mental practice. I'm gonna fill it up with my social practice. I'm gonna fill this thing up, right? So that when I'm in community with people, if I'm serving as a shepherd in self-care, I can pour.
Yeah, I got something to pour out.
I got some, right? And here's the other thing: it makes us a kinder leader.
Yes.
and a compassionate leader. We're softer. We're not so hard. Right? It gives us a little bit more compassion, and it helps us also not to burn out.
Right. Look, and because we're not walking around angry and frustrated
and mad at everything and everybody, right?
And everybody's a demon.
Man, what you talking about? So when we look at self-care, I want you to think about, here's the question I want to leave everyone is, where is the leak?
Where is the leak?
Where's the leak? Do a self-assessment of what's really going on in your physical, in your emotional, in your mental, in your social well-being. Check in.
Yeah.
And be honest. And then hit the ground running. That means connect with others who understand what self-care is, right? That's in community with other people, other ministers, if that's what you want to do, right? Make sure your needs taken care of. Name the need. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have your non-negotiables. Mine is when I had to walk that roast down. My God. And so
you got everybody thinking about a roast. And
And I had a toothpick in my mouth. You know, it was really good, right?
Yeah,
so, yeah. We stuck in there, had to work with it. So have room for grounding, have room for grace, have room for compassion, have room for non-negotiables, right? And when we think about, when I ask you the question, where is the leak, it takes time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because when you find a leak in the house, water travels.
You got to figure out where the source is. Where did it come from?
Got to get to the source, but then look how much damage the water has done. It was over here, but it traveled all the way through the basement.
You preaching, Doc.
Right? So your basement is now your physical, it's your spiritual. All of that now is being impacted. Because the core of the thing is you didn't set no boundaries. The core of the thing is you didn't take care of yourself. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't. Why do I remember that my grandmother used to take a nerve pill? Because that was really clear to me that something was off. But we didn't have a name. I didn't have a name for it. But there was something her doctor named, because she had a conversation with her doctor for him or her.
This is what the symptoms are. This is what's happening with me.
Right. And here's a pill. She called it her nerve pill, and she would go lay down and sleep for a couple of hours. Right? Get up and cuss everybody else out. You know.
Nerve pill worked, but it was blowing out.
It was working. It was working. So recognize if there's a leak, right? Number 2, if you're lying to yourself, you won't heal.
Yeah.
Liars don't heal.
Liars don't heal.
They don't heal. I gotta say that. We don't. If we're not being honest, we can't heal.
Yeah.
Put a name on it. Right? Everybody got their can't help it. Name it. Right? Everybody got their thing that they hooked on. Whatever he said, the pastor would say, whatever you're hung up on, Jesus is a habit breaker. That's what he said. Whatever you are hung up on, Jesus is a habit breaker.
He's a habit breaker. Come on, Bishop. I hear you.
Come on, Bishop. So I know our time is closing, but I get you to leave that with us.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Physical, mental, spiritual, the social, and all of that. And you ask the question, why is it so hard? The Black church in particular is an institution. And part of that institution is the community that comes in those 4 doors, right? In those 4 walls, right? Yeah. And people bring their full selves in those spaces. And I want us to enjoy our music. I want us to enjoy the preached word. I want us to have more babies and more weddings. We're gonna have to bury some people because that's life, right? I want us to find joy, right? And I want to also encourage us to play more, to find our passions, to be more creative, to ask the tough questions. And when we see something, when we see a person who we know personalities change, they're withdrawn, they look nervous, right? You can start looking for things. Because when we recognize it in ourselves, we can recognize it in other people. And the reason that most of us don't want to touch other people's pain, Bishop, because we're not in contact with our own.
We haven't touched ours. We haven't dealt with ours.
We ain't touched ours, right? And so we got to be able to touch our own pain in order for us to see the pain in other people. And then not only see it, care about it, give them the resources they need, the life and compassion for them.
Yeah.
And just be a place where compassion flows. But you're going to go across the street at that counseling center. You're going to do the work. And you're going to go to Bible study. You're going to sit and praise and worship. We love all that good stuff. And we're going to help your kids go to college. And we're going to marry your daughter off because we know that's important to you. But, the lights are on across the street.
That's it.
Right? And be okay with that. And so I want to thank God for Spirit of Life Ministry and your vision, Bishop.
Bless you, man. I got really 5 questions I should ask you. I usually ask
come on.
Again, so I'm gonna hit you with these real quick. Okay. All right. Number 1, if you could go back in time to any moment or event, what would it be? If you could,
what would it be? I could go back. It would be in a moment of time, and then what? It's kind of the time I like. It's a good time, a bad time.
Like I wish I would have. I wish I could have been alive when this happened, or I wish I would have been able to go to that. What would it be?
I wish in 1992 that I would have completed. Let me clarify.
Now, this could be a historical event, though, too.
Yeah, okay. Let me tell you something. I wish I could have been in Inglewood at the Forum when Prince did 16 shows there.
Oh, yeah. Early in the 2005.
I was working on my master's degree. Degree was, and Denise was running that whole thing. And I couldn't go.
Oh, man, it was amazing.
Now, don't rub it in, Bishop.
I won't, but it was amazing.
And so when I was in California, of course, we met up. Denise said, you missed it. I said, Denise, please don't.
Hey, I won't do that to you, but I'm just saying it was amazing.
That moment, I would love to spend some time rocking out there.
Yeah, I think about stuff like that too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me if you can have 3 desert island albums or movies, what would they be? 3 of them.
Number 1, Songs from Kid Life, Stevie Wonder. Number 2 would be Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, the best Michael Jackson album.
Yeah. That Michael with the big nose and the afro. That one, and Love Alive with Walter Hawkins.
No wonder we're cool.
Them 3.
Man, that's.
I can listen to them on repeat.
You can. You'll be all right if you had those 3 albums.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Next question: what person, living or dead, would you like to hang out with?
Ooh. Wow. They said never meet your heroes, right?
Right.
I would love to hang out with it was 2 people. It was either Dr. J in his prime.
Okay.
I was fascinated with Dr. J, Julius Erving.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the literature side, Toni Morrison.
Wow.
I wanted to hang out with Dr. J because I thought he was the coolest thing ever.
I know. I was the same way. I grew up. It was fun. And next one is, who inspires you?
Oh, that's interesting. There was a 5th grade teacher who changed my life.
Wow.
Juanita Watson.
Mm-hmm.
And I stuttered growing up, shy kid. She called my parents in, and said, "Hey, she told me, hey, I want you to wait for me after school. Your parents want to come up here." Immediately, I thought I was in trouble.
Right.
Long story short, she tells my parents, "I want him to give the poem for our Black History."
Wow. Wow.
And I'm a kid who stuttered, and I'm fighting the whole thing. I'm not gonna do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
My folks say, "Oh, you're gonna do this, right?" All this.
All right.
Right. But she said to my parents, "I see it in him, and as his teacher, I got to break it open."
There it is.
She said, "If I don't break it open," she said, "he'll never speak."
Wow.
She said, "I'm gonna work with him every day after school."
That's amazing.
I remember that conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that changed everything for me as a young kid who was withdrawn, who stuttered, who was shy, pretty good in class. And Miss Juanita said, "I'm gonna break it open."
Isn't that amazing how one person, God can put the right person in your life to change it? Yeah.
I'll never forget her. So she inspires me.
Okay. And now, final question. What's your favorite food or dish? Obviously, roast beef is very popular.
With the toothpick. With the toothpick. With the toothpick.
What's your favorite food?
Casio pepe. What is that? What is that? Italian dish? Casio pepe?
I've heard of it, but yeah.
My favorite time. I can eat that every day.
Wow. Okay.
I can eat that.
I got you. I got you.
Yes, sir. But today I have rice.
Yeah, but can't eat everything. Can't eat it.
Right. But I passed a little Italian restaurant I like to go to on my walk, and I keep eating.
Every now and then, but I'm gonna roll by there.
I'm gonna get my pasta. So yes, sir. That's what I.
David Smith, we appreciate you. It's been a pleasure, and you have given us so much. And I believe we're gonna have to repeat this one and play it again for him, because this one will bless a lot of people, and it's a great way for us to start off the next half of this year. We'll get it together.
Okay, brother. Thank you, Bishop. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Love you. And
love you too, brother. It's almost 11 here down.
Okay, yeah, go lay down, man. You tired.
I got to brush my teeth now. Okay.
God bless you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we appreciate you being a part of the live stream and the conversation with David S. Smith. If you missed any part of it, check it out on our wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you check out on YouTube, check it out. Go to our page, stevehamiltonministries.com, and you can check out all the videos and all that. But I'm telling you, share this, bless somebody else. It will help them. I guarantee you they will be really blessed from this particular podcast. Shepherds and Self-Care, Nurturing Mental Health in Ministry. God bless you. We will see you soon. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you later. Good night, everybody.